calculus kids, this is Dr. Callahan with week 14 Friday. How are you guys doing? This is week 14 Friday for AP Calculus. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Pause the video and answer the following 3 questions. Let's go ahead and take a look to see where we are. So this is the end of week 14. So at this point, you should have 30, 30, 30, and 20 questions. So altogether, that's 90, 110 questions completed from Albert I.O. If you have not completed this, just keep in mind your grades are updated as of today. So check on MS Team for that. For week 14, you have until Sunday by 11:59 p.m. to complete your assignment. And yeah, and then we'll just move on for our next part. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Keep in mind that your Math, Excel, and AP College Board is still accessible. Make sure you have these 2 done for week 1 to week 12. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's stuff. So take a look at this page right here. We're going to go over this first question for the free response. This is a scoring guide, and again, it is a total of 9 points. All right, go ahead and take a moment and answer the question. This is a no calculator allowed question, so a little bit different than the last few because we have been using calculators, but for this one, definitely no calculators. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at question number 6A. So this is the 6th question to the free response. All right, so looking at this right here, you have x, g of x, g prime of x. This right here is a graph of h. And it says, let f be the function defined by f of x equals cosine 2x plus e to the sine x. Let g be a differentiable function. The table above gives value of g and its derivative of g prime at certain values of x. So for A, find the slope of the tangent to the graph of f at x equals pi. So you know that f of x is equal to cosine 2x plus e to the sine x. So if I need to find the slope of the tangent line at f, I will need to find f prime. So let's find the derivative of this. You will have to do the chain rule. The derivative of cosine is a negative sine 2x. Derivative of 2x is 2, so make sure you have a 2 in front of that. Derivative of e to the u is e to the u times u prime, so this is just e sine x times the derivative of sine x is going to be cosine x. Next, we need to go ahead and plug in the pi in here. So what that means is that for every x, you're going to replace pi in each of the x values. Okay. So then looking at this part here, for f prime of pi, you will go ahead and get sine 2 pi is going to give you a sine, or excuse me, actually it's just going to give you a 0. You can think about where the location of 2 pi is going to be, and it's going to give you 0. And you know this because if you were to go ahead and draw this on the unit circle, looking at this part here, when it is 2 pi and it's in full rotation, it's negative 1, 0, and 1, 0. So specifically, as you're making the rotation, take a look over here and here. Remember, cosine is the first part, sine is the second part. So in which case, at full rotation, it is going to give you 0, plus e sine pi. Sine pi is going to give you a 0 as well. So at the first rotation, so e of 0, and then cosine pi is going to give you a -1. So looking at this is going to give you a 1. 1 times -1 is just going to be -1. So that is your answer. And you can just say the slope of the line tangent to f of x at x equals pi is -1. And that is your first answer. All right, let's take a look at B. So let k be the function defined by k of x equals h of f of x. Find k prime of pi. So it's given to you that this is the equation. So you know that k of x is equal to h of f of x. So if I find the k prime of x, because you're going to do k prime of pi, k prime of x is going to give you h prime f of x times f prime of x, because it is the chain rule. Okay, so looking at this part right here, let's go ahead and plug in x for pi. So then I have h prime of f of pi times f prime of pi. Keep going with this and let's keep simplifying. If you look at f of pi, f of pi is going to give you the value of 2. And you can go ahead and plug that into the equation if you would like. So f of 2, which is going to be cosine 2 times 2 is 4, plus e to sine of 4, times f prime of pi. All right, so then let's continue. Keep simplifying. Looking at h prime of 2, here is the graph of h. You want to specifically look at this at 2. So then looking at h prime, you're specifically looking at the slope of this piece here, which is a negative slope. You're going down 1 over to the right 3. So it's a -1/3. And then, of course, f prime of pi. This is, of course, from part A. F prime of pi, as we established, was -1. So I'm going to times this by -1. So k prime of pi is going to equal to a positive 1/3. And then specifically, so that way you can see how we went about getting the 2 for f prime. So we're going to do f pi equals cosine 2 times pi plus e to the sine pi. Now, from the previous example, we know that 2 pi for cosine is equal to 1, plus e sine pi is equal to 0, which is 1. So 1 plus 1 is a 2. And that is where you got the 2 from. All right, let's take a look at C. Let m be the function defined by m of x equals to g of -2x times h of x. Find m prime of 2. So rewriting this, m of x is equal to g of -2x times h of x. So I do need to find the derivative of this. So the derivative as m prime of x is equal to g of negative 2x times h prime of x. And this is just the product rule of f times g prime plus f prime, which is going to be g prime of negative 2x times negative 2. And I actually want to rewrite this as the running out of the room here. M prime of x equals, let's say f is going to be equal to g of negative 2x. F prime is going to be g of negative 2x times negative 2. G is going to be h of x. G prime is h prime of x. Okay, so now that I have that, let's go and plug this into f prime times g plus f times g prime. So f prime times g is going to be negative 2 times g of negative 2x times h of x plus f times g prime. So then f times g prime is going to be g of negative 2x times h prime of x. Okay, so now that we're one step closer to this, let's go ahead and put the 2 in there. So once I have the 2 in there, I'm going to have 2 times g to the negative 4 times h to the 4, or h to the 2, h of 2, plus g of negative 4 times h prime of 2. Okay, so let's take a look at this then. So from here, I have g of negative 4 is going to give me a g of negative 4. Negative 4 is going to give me a 5. Okay, and then that times, oh, you know what? I'm not quite sure why I have that negative 2 there. I want to get rid of that negative 2. Sorry, this is a mistake. We should not have that negative 2 there. I apologize. Times h of 2. Now, h of 2 is from the last part, which we just had. H of 2 was a negative 1 over 3. I forgot a prime there, sorry. So this part right here is from part B, okay? H prime of 2 equals a negative 1 over 3 plus g of negative 4. So negative 4 is going to give me a g of negative 4 is going to give me a 5. So then for here, I have, it's going to give me a negative 2 over 3 times negative 1 times negative 2. And if I go ahead and multiply this together and then add the differences, I will get a negative 3. Okay, so for D, is there a number C in the closed interval between these 2 points where g prime of C equals negative 4? So what it's asking you is g of x is differentiable by the mean value theorem. So that means there is a point C in between points A and B where the slope is going to equal to the tangent line. So then I'm going to have g of negative 3 minus g of negative 5 because those are the 2 points. And then I have negative 3 minus negative 5. G of negative 3 is going to give me a 2. Negative 5 is going to give me a 10. Negative 3 plus 5. So that's a negative 8 over 2, which is a negative 4. And that is your C. So for some C in between, for C in between A and B is the slope -4. And A and B are -5, -3. All right, you guys, well, that concludes the question for this one. So another thing I want you guys to make sure you're looking at is your AlbertIO. The breakdown of AlbertIO shows as following. It gives you the breakdown of whether you're struggling, passing, proficient, excelling, or mastery. Generally, I have like kind of like a bell curve. I usually have about like 2 students here, about 3 students here, and about 3 here, 4 here, and then 3 right there. So if you are somewhere in the struggling, I highly suggest that you spend a little bit more time to go ahead and keep working on this. Next, what I want you to do is my Padlet board for reflection. You can either use this link right here, or you can use the QR code. But this is the Padlet board, and it says, give me 3 study skills that has worked for you. List 2 concerns leading up to the exam, and 1 goal you may have for this weekend. So make sure you answer this. All right, you guys, now that you're done with this, the next part that I want you guys to focus on is going to be this piece right over here. And so this one is very similar to the examples that we did go over in class, and I want you guys to try to do that. If you're having difficulty, here's a link with a QR code that goes over the steps on a video. As always, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you have a safe and healthy weekend. Take care.